16. The Problem of Poverty, Part 2. About 40 years ago, late one night, I saw an automobile parked near our driveway. In it were a man and wife, 3 children, and some bundles of clothing. It was a cold night. The man, who claimed he was a migrant worker, said that he had assumed the mountain road was a shortcut and he was now without food or gasoline. They took him into the house, gave the famished family a late supper, and they were bedded down for the night in the living room. In the morning, after breakfast, I gave them money for gasoline and lunch, and they left. The man had stopped at a service station, identified himself as my guest, and doing some work for me, gained a spare tyre for his car on that basis, and left. The tyre, of course, was unpaid for. Unusual? On the contrary, this is a mild incident. I know of incidents where such recipients of Christian charity have received very extensive help and yet have robbed their benefactor and host, refused to work at the smallest and easiest task, have been guilty of savage child-beating, wife-beating and more. Welfare offices of the county pay no attention to moral delinquency, criminal misconduct towards the family or theft. As soon as various technical requirements are met and the papers are processed, such people receive housing and support. The men know that they are not going to be required to work. They refuse jobs and demand welfare as their right. It is very naive to assume that such problems did not exist in the Roman Empire in New Testament times. They did, to a far-reaching degree. As a consequence of this, Paul wrote bluntly to the Thessalonian church, quote, "For even when we were with you, this we commanded you, that if any would not work, neither should he eat. For we hear that there are some which walk among you disorderly, working not at all, but are busybodies. Now them that are such we command and exhort by our Lord Jesus Christ, that with quietness they work and eat their own bread. But ye, brethren, be not weary in well-doing." 2 Thessalonians 3, 10-13. Some of the converts obviously expected to continue on welfare and to exploit their Christian brethren as well. Such non-workers were a problem to the community. They were, quote, disorderly, end quote, and they were, quote, busybodies, end quote. Paul's command in the name of Christ the Lord is that if able-bodied men would not work, they should not be fed. When Christians in the early church became jobless, the deacons provided them with money for one day's support, and after that, work helping some Christian brother at below standard pay. They were to be discouraged from dependency thereby. From the earliest days of the church, widows and orphans who lacked a supporting family were cared for by, quote, the daily ministrations, end quote, of the church. The deacons were named as the body of men in charge of this task, Acts 6, 1-6. This help was not sentimental. It was not grounded in any merit in the poor, simply because merit was not the issue. At the same time, it did not condone evil nor subsidize a refusal to work. The premise of Christian charity must be the law of God and His requirement of us. The case of Ruth is instructive. She performed the duty of a daughter to Naomi, although she was a daughter-in-law. In Ruth 2, 1-23, we see that Boaz showed respect for Ruth's character, but he did not offer to support her, nor Naomi. He simply favored her in the hard work of gleaning. There was respect for Ruth, and Ruth had the fact of work to indicate her own ability to care for herself and Naomi. Gleaning was harder work than harvesting, since harvesting means working with all the grain or fruit, whereas gleaning requires picking the remnant of the crop. The poor, in terms of whom God's law is given, are those who are victims of disasters, deaths, and a variety of factors beyond their control. Some who cannot work need constant help, whereas others are to be helped in order to gain work or helped to work. Such poor people often gain less help than others simply because they are not demanding help as a right. The U.S. News and World Report, January the 11th, 1988, reported on about 9 million such people, mostly white and working, predominantly devout Christians and of good character. Such people trouble the consciences of many, whereas those who will not work and insist on welfare as their right are, quote, no problem, end quote, because the state, after a fashion, cares for them. Proverbs tells us, quote, the poor is hated even of his own neighbour, but the rich hath many friends. Proverbs 14:20. All the brethren of the poor do hate him. How much more do his friends go far from him? He pursueth them with words, yet they are wanting to him. Proverbs 19:7. Very few appreciate the extent to which individual Christians as well as churches and other Christian ministries seek to help the poor and needy. Statistics on the financial amount of the help are very faulty. They only report on what official Christian agencies do, not on the work of individuals. Moreover, the work of major church bodies is the usual extent of such reports. Some of this work is highly competent, as witness the Salvation Army, or ad hoc, that is, with respect to a specific need and crisis. Thus, in Stockton, California, every afternoon at about 3 o'clock, Valtesia Smith, a Christian woman, black, feeds about 150 or so hungry people in the downtown area. Prayer precedes the meal. This is the work of the Christ Temple Apostolic Faith Church. Police have regularly interfered, declaring that a license is necessary for such charitable work, whereas clerks at City Hall has regularly states that no such law exists. Some objectors to the feeding claim that the downtown park is left in one hell of a mess, although the men who eat there are required to clean up after themselves and no signs of litter remain. Quote, Joe Jackson said he was there every day and every day he helped clean up. We know the cops are watching us, he said. There's a lot of hungry people down here. We ain't going to let it stop because of that, he said. Sharif Muhammad also eats at the park. He is among the thankful. Believe me, I've been hungry, he said. Now, at least I can go to sleep without the hunger on my mind. It gets bad enough to make you go out and take someone else's possessions. Hunger makes you angry and short-fused and mean. The harmony I feel here is about family. I just can't believe anybody is against this, he said. Elizabeth Wilder said, there's a lot of starving people around here. They can't make her stop. They can't. End quote. Given the Christian and personal context of this giving, it is not surprising that some of the poor are grateful. People who have worked in state welfare offices have reported that the most depressing aspect of their work is the routine ingratitude. Not a few of the welfare workers enter the field full of zeal, eager to help the needy. Too many become hard and cynical after a time, or leave for other lines of work because of their disillusionment. We have two kinds of poor today, as did Rome. For example, Rome's economic and military policies destroyed its strength, that is, its small independent farmers. From a people with many hard-working landowners and workers, they became a nation with extremes of wealth and poverty. The hard-working small farmers became the city poor, the welfare mobs and circus and arena fans. From an asset, they became a liability and a threat to the security of Rome. Later, emperors located their working capitals outside of Rome. In the modern era, we again have two kinds of poor. First, the welfare people, and second, the working poor reported on by US News and World Report. These working poor increasingly include many blacks, as the black churches continue their work of converting many of the inner-city blacks from welfarism to work. This represents a major fact on the American scene. Churches, commonly small and intensely devout evangelical groups, are increasingly ministering to the welfare poor and converting them. In city slum areas, some of these converts are doing remarkable things. Older women, unable often to work and continuing on state welfare, have successfully cleaned up their streets and apartment buildings of narcotic dealers, prostitutes, hoodlums and youth gangs. They have organized groups to remove trash and improve the buildings. Their efforts are notable and courageous. At the same time, other converts who are able to work have left welfare at times for lesser incomes in order to effect their family's rehabilitation. The Stockton, California church mentioned earlier, the Christ Temple Apostolic Faith Church, is one of a great number of like small churches from coast to coast who are saving the lost, caring for the needy, and feeding the hungry. Sociologists and historians show no appreciations for nor awareness of what these often unacknowledged churches are doing, and they are therefore ignorant of what is happening. Very simply, these churches are doing the Lord's work. The poor are helping the poor.